If you're ready, if you're settled in your seats, you can start singing with us.
I am the infinite presence. I am the one in all. I am the truth in beauty, the answer to Spirit's call. I am the one within you. I am the one you see. Within your heart there is a doorway. The arms of love await you. With these golden wings take flight. I am the infinite presence. I am the one in all. I am the truth in beauty, the answer to Spirit's call. I am the one within you. I am the one you see. Within your heart there is a doorway. The arms of love await you. With these golden wings take flight. The arms of love await you. With these golden wings take flight.
Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. We have a wonderful song about being in the heart of the mother and the heart of the father. And so that's for all of us. And this song has two parts. And you get to choose which part you want to sing because they both go together. But first we will all sing the first part. We will all sing the second part. Then we'll put them together. And you decide which one you want to sing. Heart of the mother.
I am one with the heart of the mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God.
Let me remember.
Let me remember. Let me remember. I am one with God. Let me remember. Let me remember. Let me remember. Lord. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the Mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God. I am one with the heart of the Mother. I am one with the heart of love. I am one with the heart of the Father. I am one with God.
Beautiful.
Good morning. Thank you, Don. That was great. Oh, and Danae, thank you very much. And Lisa and Jewel, thank you for opening our service. We appreciate that. And also the boys in the corner, Tyler and Dusty and Dan. Everyone. Thank you so much for opening our hearts. Before I forget, please turn off your cell phones to silence as we enjoy this sacred service together. And one of my favorite things to do is turn and say hello to everybody online. So if you turn around, say good morning, hi, happy Mother's Day. And thank you for being here. Please know that you are an important part of our spiritual community, and we're so happy that you can join us this morning. So thank you for being here. And happy Mother's Day to you. Thank you. Yeah. And for you dads, we'll see you next month. And today we are blessed to have a wonderful heart group singing for us, Love Eternal. And Love Eternal consists of Shauna and Jared. Namaste. Jared describes his music, or their music, this way: as a vehicle for charge, both personally as well as globally. So will our genre and style may alternate between reggae, rock, and even folk. The lyrics to the songs are always geared towards social justice, universal spirituality, and inner transformation. In Hawaii, they recorded 2 albums, one that won Best Alternative Album in the Big Island Music Awards. You may visit them and purchase their music on the patio after the service. Please join me in welcoming Shauna and Jared. Namaste. Love Eternal. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. And here at Unity of Walnut Creek, we have a mission. And that mission is this: in loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And now it's time for our statement of faith. But before we get, I just have to tell you, I was hiking a couple weeks ago, and I got this inspiration from God to tell you guys this unmitigated truth, that your mere presence makes the sun smile. Yeah? It's the truth. I was hiking up in the hills and standing on the hilltop, and that came to me. And it's the truth. It's the truth. So with that, let's take a deep breath and go into our hearts and take that truth with us. And as you let go, just say thank you. And now let's say our statement together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And just let that soak into your heart and know that to be true. As we welcome our newcomers, I invite the ushers to come forward. If you are with us for the first time, please raise your hand so an usher may bring you a welcome packet. Great. If If you would rather, you may pick up a packet at the welcome table outside across the courtyard. There is a connection card in your packet. Please take it to our bookstore to receive a special gift. We hope you'll choose to stay and meet some of us on the patio after the service. So thank you for blessing us with your presence. We appreciate it. The connection cards are available for everyone in the seat pockets in front of you. With this card, you may submit a prayer request, and our prayer team will pray with you throughout the week. You may also share feedback or request information. Please place your card in the basket with the offerings. And now please take a moment to greet the people around you with a big hug or else a big handshake.
Mother God, flowing through our hearts, we give thanks for the bread of our lives, for the hands in the earth, and the fruit of your womb. O Mother God, blessed be. O Mother God, blessed be. O Mother God, flowing through our hearts, we give thanks for the bread of our lives, for the hands in the earth, and the fruit of your womb. O Mother God, blessed be. O Mother God, blessed be. O Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you wash over me. And this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh Mother God, blessed be. Oh Mother God, blessed be.
Everybody.
Oh Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you washed over me. And this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh Mother God, blessed be. Oh Mother God, blessed be. Oh Mother God, blessed be.
Now I get to tell you about all the cool stuff that's happening at Unity Center of Walnut Creek. Are you interested in volunteering with Unity's Youth Family Ministry? Please come to the information meeting this Monday at 7 p.m. You'll learn about the numerous ways you can have fun and make a difference with Unity's wonderful youth. Are you experiencing stress from traumatic changes and polarization in your community? Nah. But if you are, would you like to learn how to deepen connections and affect social change with compassion, awareness, and actions? Yes. Yes. What? I didn't hear that. Yes. Cool. All right. Thank you. Mark your calendar for May 19th for the Global Power of Heartfelt Love and Compassion workshop. The Heart Math Ministry team will be on the patio today with more information. You can also pre-register in the bookstore. Or online? Someone said it. Is that true? Okay. Or online. And this is something I can't do. Unity is having a self-care day for women on Saturday, May 25th. They will have mini classes and pampering services to nurture and stretch women's minds and bodies. Cool. And are you ready for the concert event of the year? Yes. All right. Unity of Walnut Creek is so fortunate to have the acclaimed and beloved inspirational singer and songwriter Ricky Byers. Join us in a concert on June 1st. You can save $10 on advance tickets, which are on the Unity website, or for sale on the patio today. We also have a wonderful opportunity to help migrant children living in the local area. There is an immediate need for summer clothing and sandals. Mary Shriver will be on the patio after the service with a list of needed items and to answer your questions. So please see your bulletin for more information about these and other events at our center. Now I'd like to invite Reverend Kristen to the platform, please.
Thank you for clapping for me doing nothing. Mary, maybe raise your hand just so everybody can see you. Thank you, Mary, for taking the lead on this important project that she found out about through her sister, that is her niece, who teaches in the school system, and found out about this need and brought it to our attention and took action on it. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, great example for us and to get us all gathered around so we can serve in that way. I wanted to tell you about one more thing. Mary Reed is coming to be with us on Tuesday, May 21st. Mary Reed wrote The Unwitting Mystic, which we have a few copies in advance in our bookstore. And she was somebody who really needed a spiritual leader at one time because she had no basis for spirituality or community or anything like that. I mean, kind of an atheistic life. And she started having all these visions. And so at first it was a desperation, but she eventually found the right people who kind of guided her, and now she's become a spiritual teacher herself. And she sent us this video to introduce herself to us, so let's take a look.
Hello, hello, Unity of Walnut Creek. This is Mary Reed. I'm coming to you from my home outside of Washington, D.C., where I'm getting ready to leave shortly to start my events on the West Coast, which means that I'm coming to see you soon. I will be there on Tuesday night. What is it? It's May 21st, I think. And I'm very excited. I love meeting new communities. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an accidental mystic. I didn't mean to do this. I wanted to be a backup dancer for Michael Jackson. So this whole mystical thing is a huge surprise to me. But I have a lot of really interesting things to say about my experiences for the last 18 years of these unexpected abilities. And it's about how it all applies to what's happening in our world today and offers some extraordinary perspectives that I think are helpful to a lot of people. So I look forward to seeing you then. And in the meantime, if you want to find out more about who I am, you can check out my book, Unwitting Mystic, either through Kristen at the bookstore or online at Amazon. All right, and I look forward to seeing you then soon. Namaste, namaste.
She says that the word that people use after the evening together typically is startling. So she's named this evening A Startling Evening with Modern Mystic Mary Reed. So hope you'll join us for that. I'd now like to invite Susan Monroe forward as we begin our time of meditation. Susan has a poem to read from a friend of our community. Her name is Mirabai Star. We're trying to get her here, and we're in that process. And so she's going to start out our meditation time with this reading, and it will be followed. You guys can come on up if you'd like, followed by Love Eternal, some music, and some guided meditation. Enjoy.
Happy Mother's Day, one and all. Our community reading today is Our Lady of Kazan by Mirabai Starr. Feminine face of the Holy One, you are known by many names, but they all mean mother. You have appeared since the time of our earliest ancestors as the embodiment of mercy and compassion. You have been celebrated in song and scripture as the essence of sacred wisdom. You lived a fully, deeply human life, and this humanity is what helps us feel connected to you. Do not hide your face from us now. This world is yearning for your mother love. Show our leaders how to guide us with respect for our dignity and well-being. Teach us to love one another with boundless patience and unbridled joy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was sleeping, now I'm awake. While I was sleeping, hey, I made some mistakes. I must have hurt you. I can see it on your face. And though I know I didn't mean it, I apologize all the same. And I pray it's not too late. It's not too late. I was sleeping, opening my eyes. While I was sleeping, I wore a disguise. I didn't want you to notice I was hurting inside. And after all that we've been through, I just want you by my side. I pray we still got time. Got time. This world was sleeping, now it's starting to awaken. And humankind is at the edge, and there's so much at stake. But I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late.
Wide awake, we rest. It's not the kind of sleepy unconsciousness through which we slip into time to time in our lives. The kind of rested, deeply rested feeling
sense of coming home to the heart of our hearts. Our eyes are closed and we may look like we're sleeping. We're actually awakening. So it is with an alertness and an openness and allowing that we open the doors to our own hearts and let the love flow freely. Nourishes the cells of our bodies. It uplifts the thoughts in our minds and clears out the emotions that stand in our way. Thanks be to this God, this mother energy that lives in our hearts, that waits here for us to come home. And so in we go to the place of overflowing love and compassion, remembrance. We awaken in the rest of the great mother's lap in the silence. The birds chirp with joy as they witness our awakening. We bring that center with us wherever we go, as we begin to move about the world and serve in the world, to lead. And here, this touchstone, this place we can return to again and again and again, to refill, to remember, and to feel the love, the ever-flowing, non-stop love. Thank you, Divine Mother, for this. And so it is. This world is sleeping, but it's starting to awaken. Humankind is at the edge of consciousness, and there's so much at stake. But I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. I know it's not too late. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late. No, it's not too late. Yeah. All right, so happy Mother's Day. My wife, Shauna, and I have been together for about 20 years, working on 20 years. We've raised 3 children, and I can tell you that she's the best mom I've ever witnessed in action. Last Mother's Day, we spent living out of our car with our 3 children as our 2 eldest were graduating high school because we were in a Mother's Day eruption.
Yes.
We lived in the jungles of Hawaii, and the Kilauea volcano decided it was time to vent off some steam right in the center of our neighborhood.
She's birthing some new earth, you know, that's
Yeah.
how it happened.
Yeah. So this Mother's Day, we're gonna go celebrate and live life to the fullest. And I hope you guys come talk with us afterwards at our table. Shauna made some amazing earrings, Mother's Day earrings for everybody. So, and we've got our music there. Anyways, I'll play the song. For you.
We're
Play the
grateful
song.
all that mama momentum brought us here to you in this moment. It's a perfect weave, yeah.
I wanted to write a song that could change this world, make it into a better place for every boy and girl. I realized that all change, it must start from within. So humbly I begin. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. All the things that I hope to see, let I learn to embody it. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. I am willing. How could I stand up and preach? Lord, what could I teach if I cannot embody it? And how can there be peace? Peace all over this world if I can't learn to get along with my own family. So Mom and Dad, I thank you. Children, I support you. My partner, I adore you. I need you all, I need you all, so that I may learn. My ego's will I purge as I hand it to Divine's will. For not my will, but thine will be done. And I believe in the power greater than myself. To you I love for strength right now. To you I love for strength. Just let it start with me.
Yeah.
Let it start with me. All the things that I hope to see, let I learn to embody it. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. I am willing. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. All the things that I hope to see, let I learn to embody it. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. Let it start with me. I am willing. Let it start with me. Thank you so much.
This is a poem by Sarah Kay.
If I should have a daughter, instead of mom, she's going to call me Point B. Because that way she knows that no matter what happens, at least she can always find her way to me.
And I'm going to paint the solar system on the back of her hands so that she has to learn the entire universe before she can say, oh, I know that like the back of my hand.
She's going to learn that this life will hit you hard in the face, wait for you to get back up so it can kick you in the stomach. But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they love the taste of air.
There is hurt here that cannot be fixed by Band-Aids or poetry. So the first time that she realizes that Wonder Woman isn't coming, I'll make sure that she knows that she doesn't have to wear the cape all by herself.
Because no matter how wide you stretch your fingers, your hands will always be too small to catch all the pain that you want to heal. Believe me, I've tried.
And baby, I'll tell her, don't keep your nose up in the air like that. I know that trick. You're just smelling for the smoke, so you can follow the trail back to the burning house, so you can find the boy who lost everything in the fire to see if you can save him. Or else, find the boy who lit the fire in the first place to see if you can change him.
But I know that she will anyway, so instead I'll always keep an extra supply of chocolate and rain boots nearby, because there's no heartbreak that chocolate can't fix.
Okay, there's a few heartbreaks that chocolate can't fix. But that's what the rain boots are for, because rain will wash away everything if you let it.
I want her to see the world through the underside of a glass-bottom boat, to look through a magnifying glass at the galaxies that exist on the pinpoint of the human mind, because that's how my mom taught me, that there will be days like this.
There'll be days like this, my mama said, when you open your hands to catch and wind up with only blisters and bruises.
When you step out of the phone booth and try to fly, and the very people you want to serve are standing on your cape.
When your boots will fill with rain and you'll be up to your knees in disappointment, and those are the very days you'll have all the more reason to say thank you, because there is nothing more beautiful than the way the ocean refuses to stop kissing the shoreline, no matter how many times it's sent away.
You will put the wind and win some and lose some, and you will put the star in starting over and over. And no matter how many landmines erupt in a minute, be sure your mind lands on the beauty of this funny place called life.
And yes, on a scale of 1 to overtrusting, I'm pretty darn naive, but I want her to know that this world is made of sugar. It can crumble so easily, but don't be afraid to stick out your tongue and taste it.
Baby, I'll tell her, remember your mama is a worrier, but your papa is a warrior. And you are the girl with small hands and big eyes who never stops asking for more.
Remember that good things come in threes, and so do bad things. And always apologize when you've done something wrong, but don't you ever apologize for the way that your eyes refuse to stop shining.
Your voice is small, but don't ever stop singing. And when they finally hand you heartbreak, slip hatred and war under your doorstep, and hand you handouts on street corners of cynicism and defeat, you tell them they really ought to meet your mother.
Instead of Mom, she's going to call me Point B, so she can always make her way back to me. Isn't that beautiful? So we're in our second week in a leadership series. And really, as leaders, that's one of the things that we can emulate, this sort of mother leadership kind of example of being that point B, that touchstone, that home base, allowing ourselves to embody that in some way. Now, I know as mothers, we don't always measure up to the ideal, right? Or our own mothers didn't always measure up to the ideal. Anybody have the perfect mother who did all the things that we're talking about in the perfect way, right? Nourishing and nurturance and unconditional love and all that good stuff, right? And some of you did. Wonderful. Yet, if we look to the broader idea of mother, the divine mother, we will never fail in that example of all that can be given to us. We could walk right out this door into Mother Nature, for one example, to find that point B, that place of restoration, that place of reset, that place that allows us to heal and come back integrated and whole once again. Just this week I was on spiritual retreat, and I took not one, but 2 naps on the beach. I know, I'm so blessed. And both times, it's that total giving over, the ocean air and the sound of the waves and the feel of, in one case, the rocks behind me and the sand in another. And both times it's that complete reset, going back to home base. And sometimes even in the midst of a busy city, we can find that. I remember when I used to work full-time on the south side of Chicago and then take the L train, which is like our BART, to Loyola University where I was going to grad school. And I would, only have a few minutes, and everything was busy, and my life was busy, and it was loud, and it was city grit, the feeling if you've been in the city lately or if you commute to the city. And so there's that kind of sense that, wow, where do you find that respite place? Where do you find that honing place and that homing place, that point B that we often look for to get restored and to integrate our lives so that we can move forward for the next thing and the next thing. And I found it in a Mother Mary statue. Now, I grew up Lutheran, so Mother Mary wasn't so well featured there. And I was always kind of jealous of my Catholic friends where Mother Mary had a place, because as young women, we really didn't have anywhere to go. Like, everything was he, and all the leaders were male, and so, at least in my Lutheran upbringing. And so to have this one representation that was the Divine Mother was really powerful for me. And so I would take a left turn, so to speak, on my way, and just stop and be with the statue. And miraculously, there was never anybody around in that busy city when I did this. It was kind of a courtyard of a church. And sometimes it'd be a few minutes, sometimes I'd get 10 or 15 minutes, and I would just sit at her feet, literally. And there was just that sort of open stance that she often has of just love, 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 open arms, ready to receive, ready to give. And there was such a restoration for me in that. And I don't know what images or icons, if any, really speak to you in that way, but there are so many, really, shades of this Divine Mother energy that we can find. Sometimes Mary is represented in a way that's a little too pious and perfect for us all, right? The Immaculate Mother Mary kind of thing. But there are other shades that might be more accessible to us, other faces of this Divine Mother that might at different times be more accessible for us. Like, for example, the Black Madonna. If you've ever seen the Black Madonna throughout Europe, Black Madonna is known. And many, at least in southern France, say that that's Mary Magdalene and the child that she bore with Jesus. That's one theory. But anyway, there's a different energy there for the way that the Black Madonna is represented. And then there's what she is based on, Isis and Horus, and the Madonna figures of the earlier Egyptian god and child, Madonna kind of figure. There's also Kuan Yin that many of you might relate to from the East. And all of these have some shade, except for Isis, have some shade of based on a living being, a real person who walked the earth and then kind of rose to sort of deified understanding. And in the case of Kuan Yin, there's actually an androgyny connected to her. So she was originally he in India as Kuan Yin, and then she was picked up again and known in China as the female Kuan Yin. And she got her sort of, the key to Kuan Yin is this compassion. You'll sometimes see the water that she holds. She holds like a water bottle and it flows out. And that water is like the compassion of the divine. And her story is that her father was very cruel and that she was so unbelievably forgiving and compassionate to her father that she became a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is one who agrees to be reincarnated over and over again until all beings are reincarnated once they have become enlightened. So there's so many different ways we can access this sort of imagery or iconic, if that speaks to you, this icon. Sometimes that really does work for me well, and sometimes it's not as much a part of my practice, but I have an altar filled with gods and goddesses, and it really does often speak to me to have that kind of representation, that reminder of the divine human and that mother energy that is so accessible, so available to us, that point B to go to be with. Of course, ultimately, it's inside of us. But these kind of help us, these faces of God sometimes help us get to that point. And then there's the living ones, the living saints that are embodying this divine mother. One like Amma. Anybody heard of Amma before, the Indian spiritual teacher? She actually has an ashram over here in San Ramon. She's going to be here June 11th through the 14th. And she's known as the hugging saint. This is her great gift to the world. She does have spiritual teachings and charitable organizations that she runs, but ultimately she's known to be the hugging mama. So you can actually have a hug from the Divine Mother. And so if you would like a hug from the Divine Mother, you can look her up and go have one during that time she's going to be here in San Ramon coming up. She's hugged something like, she's been doing this for 40-some years, like 34 million people and counting. Sometimes for up to 22 hours in a day, she's just hugged and hugged and hugged and given that mother love. There's an NPR reporter, Allison Bryce, that talked about her experience with Amma. She said, with great force, she took me in her arms, and I was enveloped in the scent of rose. It was a powerful hug and a powerful moment, she said. I was overcome with a profound sense of comfort and calm and clarity. And then I staggered off the stage. So there is this idea of mother that is this divine mother, this idealism of mother, and all these traits that go with it that are so hand in hand with the kind of leadership that we need today, the kind of leadership that the world is aching for, really. And it does include the softness of nourishment and nurturance, this kind of ability to be that home base or that point B. So I'm wondering for you and the people you serve, and you may think, well, again, if you're just picking up with us, I want to have you recognize that you are a leader. There's all kinds of ways that you affect and impact people in your lives. Maybe you're a mother or a father or a grandmother or a grandfather. Maybe you have an influence in your neighborhood, or you're part of a team or a group or even a social group of friends. You might have a leadership role in an organization, or you play on a team, and you have a leader. Even if you aren't named the coach or the teacher or the leader, you still have a part to play that can be based on and grounded in these kinds of leadership skills. And so there's a call to bring forth that energy. And so, there might be different ways that you might show up in these different ways as point B. You may not even know that you are point B for some people, that being in your presence is something that helps them reset and restore, or to even heal something, or to get an insight, or to feel inspired in some way. You might not even know how you're affecting the lives around you. But if we just keep walking the talk, if we keep emulating these kinds of qualities, we will be giving them to the world, whether we know so or not. It doesn't really matter, does it? I don't think Spirit's too worried about recognition for all the love that Spirit pours out through the world, right? And so we too, as we emulate that Spirit, are not so worried about that. We just keep giving it and sharing it. And so maybe you do that just by smiles and hugs. Or maybe you do that by deep and patient listening, or encouraging and kind affirmative words. There's so many ways that we can give the kind of healing, nurturance, love, compassion, and forgiveness into the world that the world wants and needs. My mother used to be a really incredibly patient listener. It was one of her great gifts. I mean, even down to super mundane details. I remember when I was a little kid and I was really into playing softball, and so my neighbors had taken me and the other kids to this movie called Bad News Bears. Did anybody ever see that? About the little baseball team that does everything wrong, you know? And I just loved it. So I came home and I told my mom, like, I mean, from the opening scene to all the dialogue I could remember, scene by scene by scene, what happened in the movie. And she just sat there like she had nowhere to go and nothing to do, and like she hung on my every word. And I remember checking in several times thinking, she can't be that interested in this. Could have fooled me, though. And I loved it, of course, you know, as we do sort of eat up that kind of attention sometimes, that kind of open listening, that kind of, you know, you're the most interesting thing that walked in the door, and I want to hear everything you have to tell me, honey. And so we can be that, though, for each other, can't we? I mean, not always. Again, we've got our things, you know, where we can't always be all of that. But when we can, we open up to it, right? And we do our best in any given moment to be there, to be that, even if it's just a few seconds of attention. It's that kind of open willingness to be there and be present, to let people kind of be heard in that presence and healed in that presence and inspired in that presence, or just a little rest, a little restoration. Somebody finally wants to hear my story. Somebody wants to listen. Somebody's interested. So there's lots of ways we can take our leadership cues from mothers or from this mother energy, the divine mother. You know, we can provide real food for the body, right? We can't sell that one short, right? Breaking bread together is something, it's just a ritual that's through humanity that connects us, that brings us together. So for our teams and our families and our neighborhood and all the places we're looking at through the lens of our leadership and our roles that we play, we can bring that gift. Like last night, the men that I'm looking at, Paul and the other men who cooked last night for the Tacos del Sol. It was absolutely delicious. And it was so nurturing, you know, to come together, to have this beautiful gift of the food, but also then the soul food, right? The soul food of being together in community and dancing together. And that's another thing that we offer in leadership by setting that kind of culture, by creating that together, that kind of culture where we come together, we connect, we listen to each other, we celebrate, we have fun. And then there's always spiritual food that we can offer, right? Moments of wisdom that comes guided through us and that is offered to another as a gift, whether they choose it or not. Again, not so much attached to the outcome. Alma talks a lot about that, about being detached from the outcomes and just doing her thing, you know, hugging over and over again. So whatever it is our thing to do over and over again or to put out into the world, we just do it because we're guided to do so, because we are able to do so, because we know the world needs what we have to offer, these kinds of gifts. You know, so a mother also, and it's also important that we as spiritual leaders remember that sometimes we need a point B ourselves, right? It's really important, that self-care, self-love part of the whole leadership, that we're not always in giving and serving mode, but we also recognize where we can find our own point B. And whether that is the images of the mother or being in nature or having our own spiritual counselor or director or some good friend, you know, just a place that we go to get refilled ourselves, and to recognize, part of leadership is to recognize when we need to do that and to do it. Because that we can't always be in that one way. The law of circulation is giving and receiving for a reason. That's how the flow keeps coming. And it's the same for service as it is for money, as it is for all aspects of abundance. So that's a really important point in the leadership. And also, finally, that we, although I've been talking about us as kind of offering a point B, that we always remember that we are not the ultimate point B. You know, that we are just pointing to the truth, right? So we are, as spiritual leaders, pointing to home. We are pointing to the truth that is always inside of the people we serve, right? So that's a key part, is that we are just somebody who can call forth and tell the truth about where home really is, where that place of nourishment really can be found in our own hearts, in our individual hearts. And then there's that aspect of not just like come to mama and come home and be restored and nourished, but also time for the eaglet to fly, you know? Time to be pushed out of the nest. And I can imagine, I mean, I've not raised a child all the way through to that age, but I can imagine what that might be like for those of you who get to that point of letting them flee the nest or to give them the nudge out of the nest. And what a shift that is. What a transition time that must be. You know, and so it is for us and the people we lead and for ourselves when we are being led, that there is that shift when it's time for us to do it ourselves. At the wedding of Cana in the scriptures, Jesus' first demonstration of what he was able to do was done side by side with his mother. They're sitting next to each other at a wedding all the disciples were invited to, and the wine runs out. And mom gives him a nudge and says, hey, the wine has run out. And he's like, it's none of my business. He actually says, my hour has not yet come. A little bit differently said. And, you know, there's a depth to this story that I always feel like Mary knew how to do this stuff. And she taught him. And she's at that point where, like, I've taught you all I can teach you. It's your turn. It's your time. And he's going, oh, no, it's not my time yet. Not ready yet. Need to go through that. Let's rehearse it. Let's do A, B, and C steps again back at home before I do this out in public, you know? You know how that feels for us when we don't feel ready, but somebody sees it in us and they go on now. You can do this. And so he does. So she says to all the servants, just do whatever he says. She totally sets him up. So he's like, okay, so here we go. Everybody fill up the bins, you know, the barrels filled with water all the way to the rim, and then take a sample and take it to the wine steward. And so the wine steward sips it and he says, wow, you know, usually the bridegroom serves the wine at the beginning of the evening. That's the best wine. By the end of the night, people don't notice, right? But in this case, you're serving the very best at the very end of this celebration. And so, of course, he does what she knows to do and what she has now nudged him into. And that's a part of leadership, a really important part of this kind of mother leadership, isn't it? To know when to call forth, to name the qualities, to say you can do this. Duke Tufty did that for me at Unity of Temple on the Plaza, where I was unofficially an intern minister while I was in ministerial school. And one day he said, oh, we're doing free weddings all day long today for Valentine's Day. And I was like, great. And he's like, you want to be a part of it? I said, sure. So, you know, I went with him for the first wedding, and I just sort of stood by, and I think I had a small part. And then he walked out, and he said, you can do the rest of them. What? It was like a deer in headlights, right? So it was just sort of that baptism by fire, you know? So, and thank God, right, that he had the wisdom to do that, because otherwise, I know myself, I would have gone home and over-prepared and, you know, thought about it. But instead, it was just there, you know, and there were the couples coming in. So it was like, all right, we better just do this thing, right? And he did the same thing when a baptism came around. And so we can do that for each other, you know, not to set each other up to fail. I think this is part of leadership, is to be able to see and to know, well, they might make mistakes, for sure. Of course we're going to make mistakes, but it's not going to be, you know, terrible. It's going to be a learning experience, and it's okay. What better time to learn than when a bunch of people are streaming in for free weddings, rather than, you know, somebody who's invested a lot in this experience, right? So whatever it is that we do as leaders, it's that sort of knowing, like a mother knows when it's time. And that's kind of that intuitive knowing that we keep working with, right? And we keep opening up and we keep expanding. And by trial, by error, get better and better and better at it. So there's also this part of naming that's really important. Naming the qualities. You know, you could think of like the 12 powers in unity. Naming the qualities we see in one another, like love and imagination and order and understanding and will, wisdom, those kinds of qualities. That's a kind of naming like we do at the beginning of the year with the white stone ceremony, where we say we're going to get a new name. And what we actually get is a spiritual quality, and it's a name, it's an idea, an ideal for us to embody throughout the year. It's that kind of thing that leaders, I think, do for us. It's that kind of naming. Very much like a mother might name us and call us by name. Father Gregory Boyle, I referred to last week, he heads up Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles, and he wrote the book Tattoos on the Heart. And in it, he talks about this young man who comes to him, and the boys are coming to him. They're gang members and ex-gang members that come to him for healing. That ends up being his whole ministry, or a big chunk of his ministry. So this young boy's coming up to talk to him, and he says he's all swagger. You know, he said he couldn't be swaggering more in every direction. It was all about image, and he's kind of got this sneer on his face when he sits down by Father Gregory. And Father Gregory says, "What's your name?" And he said he sort of sneers at me as he says, "Sniper." And he says, "No, that's not your name." "What's your name?" And he says, "Gonzalez." He says, "Look, I know some teachers around here like to call you by your last name." He goes, "That's not me." He goes, "What's your name? I want to know what your name is." He says, "Cabron." And he says, "I want to know what's on your birth certificate. Can you tell me what the name is on your birth certificate?" And he says each time he gives him a name, he opens up a little bit more. A little bit more of the armor slides off. There's a little softer boy that's showing up now. And he says, "Napoleon." "Oh, Napoleon, that is a noble name. That is a historic name. That is a strong name." He said, "But that's not what I'm talking about now. I want to know what your mother calls you." And he said everything shifted in this boy. He said he looked into the distance. There was sort of a long pause. And he said he began to talk so softly that I had to lean in to hear him. And he said, "Well, when my mom's not mad at me, she calls me Napito." Completely transformed by a name. When we call out the right name, when we call forth the right qualities, when we see something in others that they don't yet see in themselves, or they have felt it before, and it's in that very, as Mary Oliver called, the soft animal of our bodies. You know, it's in that place, that soft spot, that knowing place. It's that name that our mother called us when she wasn't mad at us. Not the full name version, right? It's that other one. It's that other one that when we're called by that name, we just sort of melt into it, right? That we know this truth of who we are in that kind of soft, loving space of who we are. Father Boyle tells another story of the first day that he was teaching at Loyola. Actually, it was also called Loyola. The school I was walking to, I don't know if I said that, was Loyola University. And this is Loyola High School in LA. And it's his first day. It's in the 70s. He's got a armful of books, and he's juggling a cup of coffee, and he's nervous. And he stops in the doorway of this veteran teacher, and he says, "I need some advice. It's my first day of teaching." He said she's sitting there reading the Times with her feet up, and she doesn't even look up. She just puts her fingers out like this, and she says, "Two things." She says, "Know all their names by tomorrow, and make sure that they know you. They don't want to know what you know. They want to know you." Isn't that beautiful? And so true, right? This is how we lead like mothers. This is how we take our cue from that kind of leadership, that kind of divine feminine leadership, and offer it into the world. We know people's names. We call them by name, the name they want to be called by. Then maybe even if they'll let us in, that softer name, that name that feels like, that nickname, that sweet name, that name that calls up all of that openness and kindness and vulnerability in us. And to name the qualities and to call forth the very best in us, to see that, to bring it forth. And then as the leader themselves, not to be up there telling people everything you know, but to let them know who you are so that the connection can be made. These are the keys, right, to this kind of way of allowing our mothers, or this mother energy, or the divine mother, to teach us how to lead, how to serve, how to be of good in the world, to really land that in the world. And so as leaders, we provide, just like mothers, TLC, not just tender, loving care, but that is a part of it, but it's also, if you will, the T is sort of like the teaching of the skills by example, by living example, and the loving fully and completely, loving full out, loving, as we often say, unconditionally, without all the strings, but just loving because we love, because we're here to love, because we are love, and because whoever it is that we are serving and whatever it is that we are serving is love too, and it's love meeting love. And then finally, the C is just calling forth the potential, calling out the very best that we see in one another, calling forth the gifts. That's what leadership, as defined by Brené, who's kind of our guide on this journey from her book Dare to Lead, talks about as defining leadership is calling forth the potential in people and ideas and having the courage to develop that potential. So this is what we're about, this TLC, this embodiment of TLC. And let's know this together as we close out. Together. I provide my people TLC. I teach by living example, love, and call forth the best. I'd also like to recognize all the mothers, all those of you who identify as mothers, which might be all of you. If you'd like to stand or just raise your hand and just let us recognize you. Happy, happy Mother's Day to each of you. Thank you for your love.
Thank you, Kristen, for your TLC. Our prayer chaplains are available after this service to provide personal prayer support. If you are a prayer chaplain serving today, please stand. Our prayer chaplains are the lavender stoles. Wow. Thank you so much for your presence. Whether you have a joy or a concern on your heart, praying with our prayer chaplains is a powerful opportunity to have your intentions raised up in consciousness. And now it's time for our prosperity celebration. Yeah! Cool. Now let's open our hearts to the practice of giving. I invite you to prepare your gifts as we align with the universal law of circulation. As we give, we shall receive. In truth, there is no lack of limitation. Abundance is our true nature. Can you say that with me? Abundance is our true nature. And so it is. For your convenience, there are a variety of ways to financially give to this community. For electronic giving, you can download an app on your smartphone called Give, spelled Gyve. Over the next month, we will be moving to Give. Sounds like a country, doesn't it? Give. We're moving to Give. All right. You may also use your push pay until May 31st, or take an envelope from the clipboard in the back of each chair. Those of you at home can click on the Give Here or Donate button on the watch page. And now I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand and repeat our affirmation with me. Together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful.
All right, we're going to do our last song here for you all. Before moving to Hawaii, the sovereign nation of Hawaii, which is a nation under occupation according to many of the people there, and I promised my uncles and aunties there that I would let people know that on my travels. Before moving there, we lived in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and we lived right by the San Lorenzo River, and the Ohlone people called the San Lorenzo River the Silver Bridge, because when the fish would come up through there, it was like a bridge going all the way across. And our neighbors said when they were kids, they could fish with a pitchfork. You could just go down there and stick a pitchfork in and pop out a fish. And when we lived there, our keyboardist was a biologist. He studied the fish, and he actually got laid off because not a single fish had returned. So this song was written in that time, and it's a call to action. It's also affirmation, and it has a line, and the fishes return to the seas and the streams. But the good news is, right when we got back from Hawaii, I saw on his Facebook page, he shared a picture of a steelhead trout, and it was the first one that had been seen back in a while, and it had come up to spawn. So I'm not saying the song has anything to do with it, but I am saying that we as humanity are doing good things, and we're grateful for that. And we got the whole band here joining us for this one. So.
Thanks, guys.
Fishes return to the streams, and the corporations act responsibly. The United States and the meaning of democracy. The world is coming, can't you see us here now? I think it's here now. So help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out. Help each other. Yeah, help each other. The fires have
each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other, help each other out now. Help each other.
Thank you so much. Please come say hi to us after service. Aloha.
Well, talk about appropriate names. Love Eternal, and their last name is Namaste. Thank you so much. So we give thanks for the abundant gifts that are represented here, and most of all, in our own hearts. Thank you, Spirit, for this abundant community of love, of connection, of nurturance, of Point B. We are Point B. For all the surrounding community, we announce ourselves as Point B, a place to come, to restore, to heal, to be rejuvenated, to go back out into the world. And we bless these gifts that allow us to continue to be a thriving Point B. Let's say that together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, everyone. What did we do today? Anyone want to share what is today?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Thank you.
And we are expressions of the divine feminine energy, right? How do we express our divine? Through our love.
Off.
Mother Earth, that's right. It's all about Mother Earth. Anybody else want to share anything? You do? Okay.
We are still having a flower sale.
Yes. We are still having a flower sale. We have so many beautiful plants. Anyone want to say anything about our beautiful plant? Okay.
You might want to buy one.
You might want to buy one. You might. Come and see us right over there on the patio. We have lots of plants. These kids have worked so hard. What did you guys do to the pots?
Paint them.
You painted them. And what did you do with the flowers? You planted them. We planted them all. We watered them with love, and we hope that you'll come out and enjoy them. So thank you.
Well, we want to thank you, Michelle, for mothering our children so beautifully. So let's bless our children and Michelle and Stephanie. Children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. And we now invite you to take your neighbor's hand, if you're comfortable doing so, as we close out with our prayer of protection and our peace song. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. are the light and the mother love and the peace on earth, so let your love shine and have fun.